Howdy, it's Pete Thorn. Hey, welcome to another Wednesday Q&A. This is where I answer the questions you ask me by going to my Facebook music page. It's facebook.com/guitarnerd. You can go there, ask me a question, and I will answer it in one of these Q&A videos just as soon as I can. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is I'm looking into starting to do maybe some live streaming on Facebook. Of this sort of format, a Q&A kind of format. I thought that'd be really cool. It seems like it's a popular thing these days, and it would be really interactive and fun. So as soon as I figure that stuff out, I'll post some info to my Facebook music page, and I'll try and come up with a time that seems like a good, and do it like in the early evening or something on maybe a Thursday or Friday, and do a Q&A thing live streaming. Why not? Okay, so let's get started. For this week, let's see. We're going to start out with Dougal. He says, loves what I'm about at the moment, educational and fun content. Hey, thanks, appreciate it. He says, what's the EVH cell hot rod strat I play at the beginning of the Boss+WOS SD1 video I made? I get a lot of comments about that guitar. It's a kit guitar, basically, that was, or like a partsocaster. Not really a kit guitar, but a partsocaster. It was assembled out of different parts from K&E and Music Craft, I think. And it's got an old Floyd on it. It's a hard ash body. It's the EVH kind of tone formula, basically. Hard ash body, bird's eye maple neck. The pickup in the guitar, which is just what came in it, it's a Motor City 2nd degree black belt. Sounds really good. The whole guitar has a real bright, snappy, fast attack, and just sounds great for that sort of Van Halen thing, really. Really cool guitar that it was just assembled by a dude that I don't know. Like I say, I found it on eBay, and it looked cool. I believe it was meant to be aged to look like Blackie, Clapton's famous black Strat, and yet have all the kind of accoutrements of an EVH guitar. So I thought that was cool. It was a cool combo, and I love the tortoise shell pickguard. I think it looks really cool. So it's a really fun guitar, and I'm glad I got it. Okay, let's see. Scott has a question about load boxes and speaker simulation. He says he's watched my video on the Torpedo Reload and Rock Crusher recording. Given the price of both these units, what's my opinion on getting the cheaper Rock Crusher without the EQ? The Rock Crusher recording has a built-in kind of analog graphic EQ and speaker simulation that lets you sort of analog simulate the tones of different speakers. They also make the regular Rock Crusher that doesn't have that built in. You can just use it as a load box. So that's what Scott's wondering. He's wondering about the regular Rock Crusher without the EQ, and then using it with the Wall of Sound plugin in his digital audio workstation to add some impulse responses for speaker simulation. Would I recommend that? Well, first of all, I think the Rock Crusher is a really good unit. I tend to use it a lot with my Vox AC15, which only sounds good on the 16 ohm setting on the amp for some reason. So I need a 16 ohm load box, and the Rock Crusher does that. So I'll use it a lot with the Vox, and I think it sounds great with it. As far as the speaker simulation goes, analog speaker simulation versus IRs, I'm more of a fan of the impulse response thing. I think they're more detailed, and I love the variety. But there are some guys that just love the analog thing, the simplicity of it. Michael Thompson's one that he really digs analog speaker simulators, and he's obviously an amazing player and gets great tones. And so it's whatever you're comfortable with in your workflow. There is a great thing about the simplicity of just plugging into an analog speaker simulator box like a Palmer or the Rock Crusher with its built-in speaker sim and EQ, and just taking a line out and recording without any extra plugins or any of that stuff that you need to do when you use IRs. So it just depends what you're into, but I think your idea of using the regular basic Rock Crusher with Wall of Sound, sure, you'll be able to get some really great detailed tones with that setup. I would think it should sound really good. Okay, next question is from Remy. He's got a Sur Classic TS, which is the model they make that looks like a Tele, basically like a Tele body shape, but has all the kind of parts of a Strat. So it's got V60 LP pickups in it and a DSH Plus in the bridge. So single hum, I think, is the setup. He says he finds the humbucker to sound too closed and too nasal. Do I think the Thornbucker would be a good option? I think it'd be a great option. First of all, with the DSH Plus pickup, it's a hot pickup. You're going to get more mids because it's hot. It's not going to be like, when you're playing clean, it's just the nature of the pickups. Can sound great overdriven into the lead stuff, but it's maybe going to be more difficult to get open, kind of clean sounds out of that pickup, I would say. Also, with the double screw option, DS stands for double screw. So in other words, the two coils of the humbucker both have screw type pole pieces as opposed to one coil having slugs. For some reason, I don't know technically why, I'm sure John Sir could explain it to me, but they specifically made those pickups to sound kind of more, I wouldn't say closed, but let's say smoother. You know, with the double screws, for some reason, as opposed to one screw coil and slug coil, the double screws are going to give you a smoother tone with, sort of less top end, really. So that's something to be aware of. So for sure, I would say a Thornbucker would sound much more open and do a more chimey thing or whatever. I would suggest the Plus model for you, just because you're used to a DSH Plus. That's a real hot pickup, relatively hot pickup. And I would say that the Thornbucker Plus would be not so much of a step down in output compared to what you're used to. Should sound really good. Okay, Glenn Young asks, he stumbled across my gear demos and he's wondering if I could share the method, gear, and software I use to make video demos. Well, I've talked about this a lot. Basically, I use interfaces from companies like Apogee as well as UA. My main interfaces are UA these days, and I use a lot of UA plugins. And then I use Logic. Logic Pro is software for recording my music, editing my music, and all that, mixing. And for video software, I use Final Cut Pro. Now, I made a whole lot of demo videos in iMovie when I first started. It's great. It's the free program that comes on a Mac. Macs also, of course, come with GarageBand. Basically, iMovie and GarageBand look a lot like Final Cut Lite and Logic Lite these days, if that makes sense. The sort of consumer-grade audio and video programs are really coming closer and closer to looking like the professional ones. So if you get started doing this kind of stuff using, I would say, GarageBand, if you're a Mac user, try GarageBand and try iMovie. Get used to those. You can do a lot of great work in those programs. And then if you feel like you want to step up and get some more features and stuff, Logic and Final Cut work for me. Okay, Mark Scarborough wants to know what quality Strat style guitar and amp do I recommend for someone like him who's willing to spend upwards of $1,000 for both. He doesn't want entry level stuff. He wants things that he's going to be able to keep for a long time and be real happy with. Well, I'm obviously a huge Sir fan. I feel like a fanboy here, but yeah, I love the company. John's one of my best friends, and I love what they're all about. They're not a huge company, but yet they're not a small company. They're all about quality. They make all their stuff in the USA, and yeah, it's just a terrific guitar and amp company. John is the kind of guy that, and this really resonates with me, I got a guitar from another builder once, and he grabbed it and he looked at it, and he was holding it, and he goes, about 5 seconds, he looks at it, and then he goes, well, do you want me to tell you what's wrong with it? And I was like, no, I just got it. Like, you're going to depress me. But that's how he is with gear, and I love that in a way. It's like when he looks inside another amplifier that he didn't make, he just sees all the things that he would have done differently to kind of, make it a better build, more roadworthy and that kind of thing. He's just all about quality. He's really obsessed with quality first. It's the way his brain works, and he can't think about things any different. So, made in the USA, a really great, basically family-owned company, obsessed with quality, great tone, great, playability, roadworthiness. What's not to like? It's an awesome company. That's all I can say about that. Okay, let's see. James Crum wants to know. This is a great question. He's a bass player, and he says he's played with a few bands, but he was just wondering what are some things I wish a bass player would do while playing together live with other musicians, kind of from a guitarist perspective. Well, to tell you the truth, bass players are sort of the least offenders for what I'm about to recommend, but I just wish people would listen to each other. That's the main thing. It's a sort of a fault of young musicians more than anything, but I think as musicians get older and more seasoned, they tend to listen to the ensemble more, the sound being made as a whole, because you're not on your own up there, you're like producing one big sound. And bass players are trained from an early point on to listen to the drummer, so they're kind of the least offenders, like I say, because the drums and bass are always listening to one another and locked together. It's just part of, you're the rhythm section. And so you're really trained to do that from an early point, I think. Whereas guitar players, it's a bit more showboaty, and we aren't really taught that. I mean, it's like it's not such a thing. You're sort of taught to maybe be a little bit more, a stylist and play out and do your thing, but I don't really remember a focus on, playing with the group and, listen to the drums and that kind of thing. And so I would say that just musicians in general, the main thing that I would hope and wish is that they listen to the whole group together. I heard a story recently about Prince and monitor mixes, and I don't know if this is totally accurate or not, but what was said was that there was one monitor mix, and he liked the whole band to hear the same mix because he wanted them to play together as a unit, not to have themselves louder and that kind of thing, and be selective about what they were hearing. He wanted them to hear the whole sound being made as a unit. And I thought that was really cool in a way, because it's like, if you can hear everybody and you're forced to not listen to yourself louder, maybe you'll play off people better and not play over, other things that are happening. Yeah, so just listening to one another, playing together, making music together, that's the main thing. Okay, let's see here. Jack Pierce wants to know, he's asking what are the pickups in my Telecaster that I used in the CKK Q envelope filter pedal video. That's that guitar right back there. So that guitar has Ron Ellis pickups in it. Ron is a terrific pickup winder that's here in California, and he makes amazing pickups, and they sound absolutely wonderful. They're somewhat hard to get, I know that. He's one guy, and I kind of relate to his plight a little bit, actually, because I'm one guy, and I have a lot of video demos and things I'm making for different folks these days that make pedals and stuff, and a lot of people waiting for them, and it's hard, like trying to combine everything that you've got to do in a day with making a living and getting all this work done. That it's like super first world problem and a great thing. But it's like, how do I get all this stuff done that I've got to do? And I think maybe, I don't want to speak for Ron because I don't even really know him that well, but I think he has a reputation for having a bit of a waiting period and that kind of thing, and maybe some folks get frustrated with that. But he is just one guy, and his pickups do sound incredible. So I would say, like, to anybody out there that's ordered pickups from, just hang in there, and it's going to be worth it, because the pickups are like, God, they sound good. The neck pickup is super clear in that guitar, and has a lot in common with like almost what I would think of as a great Strat sound. I find many times Tele neck pickups that are real closed sounding, could be due to the cover or whatever the design is, but that pickup's just got incredible clarity. It's his mid-tall neck pickup, and the bridge pickup is his 5060 model, and I know he uses different types of pole pieces in that pickup, where some of the poles are Alnico 5 and some are Alnico 3. So he's trying to kind of balance out the tone of the different strings by using different magnets, and boy, it sure works. This sounds really, really terrific. Okay, so let's see here. Next up, I don't know how to say this name, I'm sorry. I think it's Mary Fur. And the question is, a touring musician like me, do I get paid for a whole week on tour? Do I get paid in advance? Do I get paid after the tour or show? Or do I get paid show by show, like per gig? How does it work? And the answer is, there's no rule. It's totally different depending on the gig. A lot of the gigs I've done are generally a weekly salary, and you maybe get paid once a week, maybe twice a week, maybe you get paid for the whole month, but it's a lot of the types of touring gigs I've done are you sort of come up with a weekly salary. And if you only work half a week, maybe it's prorated, but I know it's totally different in Nashville. Nashville, they tend to do this thing where they go out and many artists will tour on the weekend, so you'll leave on a Thursday, play Friday, Saturday, come back on Sunday, that kind of thing, and you'll get paid maybe a different rate for the gigs than you do on the travel days. Long story short, there's no hard and fast rule. There's no real answer to the question. Every gig is different, and that is the truth. Okay, Michael says he wants to buy a multi-effect pedal, either the Line 6 Helix or TC Electronic G system, and he wants to use it 4-cable method with the PT100 amp, and he's wondering which one I prefer. Well, I've used both. The G system is an older product. It does have a cool feature, which is that it's got a built-in power supply. So when you're adding pedals to the G system, it's got power built in. You don't need a separate pedal power or whatever your power supply is. Whereas the Helix doesn't have that, but the Helix has a whole slew of other stuff, like with modeling. With modeling and cabinet simulation. It's got a built-in expression pedal. All the sort of super forward-thinking, scribble strips and assigning effects to foot switches. It's got the looper built in. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff about it. So it just depends on what you need. If your effects needs are basic, and the built-in power supply is an appealing thing for you, maybe the G system is the right thing for you. If you want the expression pedal and you like all the extra stuff that the Helix has, maybe that's the way to go. So it's really hard to answer the questions as far as like what's a better piece of gear, and it's the most common question I get these days is like Helix, Axe-Fx, Kemper, G system. It's like, which one's better? I don't know. I say this every week. I feel like I don't know. I wish I could be more helpful. Ryder, he's using a Fender Princeton as a clean platform. He's wondering, is it possible to get a Marshall tone out of a pedal using a Princeton? Well, for sure, it's a commonly done thing. Fender amp, and you added an overdrive pedal to kind of get a Marshally tone. I think the original was kind of the Rat. That was kind of the way a lot of people tried to go about it back in the day. Still a good option, really. The thing you're never going to get out of an open back type combo amp is that knock, that push that you get out of a closed back 2 or 412 or whatever, Marshall and Marshall style amp. It's just a physical thing that the 12-inch speakers all coupling up in a closed back cabinet, and that kind of thrust that you get when you palm mute and stuff. You just can't really do that. But you can get certainly a reasonable facsimile of a great overdriven Marshally tone out of a Fender style combo using a number of pedals these days. Off the top of my head, the Plexitone, Ramble Effects Marble Drive, the Sir Riot Reloaded is great for that tone. Bogner Lagrange or Bogner Blue pedal, or the Bogner Red for a higher gain thing is cool too. What else? Of course, the Friedman BEOD is a new real popular choice. The EVH 5150 overdrive pedal. So there's all kinds of options out there for this tone. Boss Power Stack. And you should be able to get reasonably close, but you never really be able to get that thing that you can get with a closed back cab. Okay, Paul Demiciano, he says, let's see, when I play out, do I set my guitar volume to 5 and bring it up to 10 on the guitar during solos, or do I leave it on 10 all the time and use a boost pedal for solos? Well, I sort of veer towards the latter. I leave it on 10 and then I do tend to hit a pedal for solos, but I am using the volume control on the guitar all the time. It's more like I leave it on 10 and then I roll it down in certain sections of songs to kind of clean up. I don't start with it. There's no hard and fast rule. There might be some tunes where I start with it lower and then roll it up. But generally speaking, I've got it on 10 and then I'll hit pedals for solos. Shush it up out there. Somebody's getting noisy in the hallway. So like Scott Henderson, I think he does the thing where he's got his guitar volume down on 7 or 6 or something like that, and then he rolls it up for solos. He tends to do that a lot. I'll leave mine on 10 most of the time and then roll down if I want to kind of clean up and get quieter. That's kind of my approach. Okay, last few questions here. This is a really good question from Matt Way. He's wondering, can I explain the order of presets when I'm using a switching system or multi-effects like the Helix? How do I think about sort of organizing my presets? He's wondering, he says he tends to start with a bank of a sort of a standard clean, breakup, dirty, and heavy tones. And then he's got another bank above that where he's got boosted and with delays and things like that. Well, okay, I'll tell you how I do it. I do it exactly like you do it the first thing that you said, which is like I've got my clean sound. If I've got 4 presets, I've got my clean sound, my edgy tone, and then a dirty rhythm, kind of Marshally PT100 channel 2 basically, and then a lead sound on the 4th pedal. That's my sort of basic where I start with 4 presets. And then above that I've got all my banks that I sort of program for whatever gig I'm doing, and those will be specific song presets. Okay, so I've got my basic 4 sounds, and then I've got my sounds more tailored for certain songs. And I find that I can do 50 or 60% of the gig on the basic 4 sounds. Generally on those basic 4 sounds, I'll also have my pedals configured so that I can turn things on and off that are standard kind of, whatever, phase 90 or a spring reverb or a tremolo. I'll have those things just kind of readily available on those stock sort of 4 sounds I have. And I've always got a delay on an expression pedal so I can roll on the mix and add echo to any sound. And so yeah, I can kind of do most of a gig on just those 4 sounds. And then above that, I've got my specific song presets, where if I've got a specific rotary sound or a timed a dotted eighth delay or something for a certain song that's at a certain tempo, those will just exist above that sort of stock bank. Okay, next up, Ron says he digs what I do. Very inspiring. Thanks, Ron. He says, have I considered doing a full lesson package in a format for TrueFire, Lick Library, companies like that? He likes how I put together parts in a raw context and layering them, and he says there's not enough instruction material that addresses these concepts. Well, once again, it's just hours in the day. It's like trying to think about getting all this work I've got to get done, finished, and doing things like this. And really, I'm going to start recording a record tomorrow. I'm going to do a drum track tomorrow, and I really don't have time to do it. But it's like if I never start, I'm not going to get it done. So I'm starting song 1 tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. As far as doing a lesson package, yes, I've actually been approached by maybe both those companies, TrueFire and Lick Library, and I just have, it's just a time thing. What I will say is this: you got to go check out the Tim Pierce course that he's got on his website. He's a master at exactly what you're talking about, which is layering parts, and he's got a course that's so geared towards what you want. So I would say go sign up. I think there's a free trial period, and you can't learn from. I'm going to go sign up and actually start studying myself, because you can't learn from a better source than Tim. So that would be the way that I would recommend going. Maybe one of these days I'll do a similar thing, but I don't know. It would be impossible to top what Tim's doing, that's for sure. Okay, Chris asks, he's a fellow Canadian musician, loves the YouTube channel. Thanks, Chris. He's wondering about pre-show warm-ups. He says he noticed if he doesn't pick up his guitar at least 30 to 45 minutes before a noodle around, his hands don't get warmed up until the end of the first set. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I'm the same way. I just pick up the guitar and just play. And I find if I just have to play slow, like not push it, 30 or 45 minutes before the gig is pretty good. That's about when I do it. And I'll just start playing through some simple picking exercises or scales, just really trying to get my hands warm and basically just kind of synced together. So I put out a sort of a free picking lesson a little while ago, and whatever's in that, I'll do some of that stuff. Just kind of play, Generally, so there's no substitute. You just got to put in the time. 30 to 45 minutes is a pretty good, half an hour before the gig. Just pick it up and start doing things. Don't play too fast or try and push it. Just play real slow. Get your hands warmed up. That's going to set you up for the gig in a nice way. Paul Hell asks. He says he's wondering about the John Mayer 2-rock clean sound, and he's looking for an alternative to a 2-rock amp. He wants a simple 1-channel clean machine with crystal clear definition as a pedal platform. The Sir Bella is an obvious choice. That's exactly what they made it for. Some simple 1-channel. You can get it with reverb now too, and that amp just sounds, it's made for using with pedals and being like a wonderful just kind of tone platform for your whatever your pedals are. So I would say that. Also, the Sir Hedgehog has got an amazing sounding clean channel and happens to have that wonderful overdrive, like American style overdrive circuit built in. I've got demos of both of these amps on my YouTube if you want to check them out. Diego, that's the last question. He says he's actually building a custom Sir guitar, and he wants to get it with 2 Thornbuckers. It's going to be a Sir Classic. And he wants to know, does having the nickel plate on the covers, like having covers on the pickups, does it affect the tone greatly? And what do I think about a hum single hum configuration? I don't have any guitars with hum single hum, but I think it's cool. And then you can get those cool 2 and 4 positions with the single coil. I tend to just do the 2 humbuckers, and then I kind of have them both so I can tap them. And I'll go that route for that kind of sound. But hum single hum's cool. And as far as the covers go, so with pure nickel covers, you get a very, very small tone change, if any, that's noticeable. That's what we found, and that's why we only offer the cover on the Thornbucker in the pure nickel, raw nickel, because we found it was super close to just having an uncovered pickup. When you use gold, you get a much more of a tone change when you put the cover on the pickup, as well as chrome. Not as much, but there's some. I believe it's not as much as I remember. And once again, this is a great question for John Sir, because he can tell you exactly in scientific terms how much the tone actually changes. I believe it changes the resonant peak or something of the pickup. I don't know. I'm a knucklehead. I just know that it closes down the tone a bit when you put a gold cover on or a chrome cover, but the raw nickel sounds almost exactly like open coil, like to the point where I almost couldn't tell, and it was like, well, it's negligible. So you're good to go either way, open coil or with the covers, whatever the look is that you desire. I say go ahead and go that way, and don't worry about it beyond that. Okay, hey, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for the great questions, and I'll see you real soon. Please hit subscribe if you haven't. And once again, watch my Facebook page for news about a live Facebook stream in this Q&A format. So I'm really excited about doing that soon. All right, I'm Pete Thorn. Take care.